ठीक है,
जी
धन्यवाद करो। ओके,
थैंक
हेलो एवरीवन, हैप्पी दिवाली बिलेटेड। कैसा गया दिवाली सबका? गुड। लास्ट क्लास एटीट्यूड डिस्कस किया। ओके, विल टेक वन स्मॉल आंसर राइटिंग। आई होप सब लोग प्रेजेंट थे, ओनली यू आर एब्सेंट। ओके, राइट डाउन द क्वेश्चन। व्हाट इज एटीट्यूड? व्हाट इज एटीट्यूड? व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय एटीट्यूड? How is it influenced? How is it influenced? And what are its components? Quickly, for 10 marks, one page, 150 words. Write it in general, जो भी पता है, at least try. ओनली टू ऑफ देम आर राइटिंग, व्हाई? घर पे जाके रिवीजन नहीं करते हो? तो नेक्स्ट क्लास दोगे मेरे को ये कंप्लीट करके? एटलीस्ट मेक इट अ ओपन बुक एग्जाम, देख के लिखो, लेकिन मेक श्योर यू राइट इट एंड कम. ओके. So this class will be completing attitude chapter. Okay. So as far as I have taught you what is attitude, what is attitude, we use it in daily terms, right? Even in texting, is- even in our chat messages, in daily terms, we coin it attitude. Last class we had gone through that, and I've explained. I've told you the definitions also. So by that, what is the meaning of attitude? उससे पहले क्या करते हो? How you react, I would say that would be an aptitude. How you go through the situation, how you solve that. But before that, like if I tell you to climb Mount Everest right here, right now, though we are not at the base camp, how you think about a target, how you think about an object, how you think about a circumstance, that is attitude. Your image, the time I tell you about your favorite topic, your favorite person, the thought which comes into your head, that is attitude towards a person, about an object, about a situation, how you think, that is attitude. Okay. Components: subthus, Lapierre com- introduced ABC model. What was that model? Right. What is affective? Behavior, in the sense. Okay. Cognitive, which means based on your cognitive knowledge, you react upon it. So the same example what you gave, snake, how would, like what would be the example? Yes. So how would you react? So that is a premise of what you told about cognitive behavior. How would you react? You would think all snakes are not dangerous. You would circumpass that. You would bypass that snake, because if you disturb a snake, that would disturb you, that would harm you. Based on your knowledge, you would act by bypassing that. Any other example? Snakes का तो example मैंने दिया था. Any other example of ABC model? Did you get it? Affective, which means you believe that something would affect you. What is the meaning of difference between effect and affect? Have you heard about this thing? What is the difference between both? Why is it effective? Why is it not effective? The model would be termed as EBC model. Why is it ABC? Effective, behavioral, and cognitive. What is the meaning of effective? Mm, no. Matlab, you mean to say this is 100% and this is something less than 100%? No. Are you being affected by rain or affected by rain? Very right. Positive term and negative term. They have mentioned negative term, but anyone from the management stream, commerce stream? Okay. Effective and efficient. Why is it effective and efficient? Optimum utilization, right? And what is effective now? If you know the different, if you know the meaning of effective now, opposite to that. Okay. Like when we had gone through ABC model, I need one example of yours of ABC model. Any general, वो भी बताया था मैंने. Something very common. One example which you can term it an ABC model. See, in ethics, like before you could start, I would like to interrupt. In ethics, make sure you give example of daily life or else bureaucratic life. Something of government processes, governance processes. Can you think of any government process example in ABC model? Uh, would be very difficult, but tell me, ABC, how would you like, how you would define? See, example आपने जो बोला that is right, but make sure आप वो umbrella example पकड़ो. Bribe is a component of the example, but what would be the umbrella example जिसमें bribe एक component आ सकता है? Usually, who takes bribe? The person who has authority, right? If authority, which means government employee, he might be of group A, group B, group C, even kachra wala bhi, right? ABC model, if you're trying to approach any government official, you would have a effective behavior. Sub government employees is a bribeful people, right? And what would be your behavior? You would obviously avoid. कोई ये नहीं चाहेगा कि पुलिस, लॉयर और डॉक्टर के पास अपने लाइफ में एवरी डे जाए, राइट? Visiting is okay, but not daily. You would try to avoid. Your behavior would be because of your effectiveness on of your knowledge कि सब government employees is a full of bribe. how would your cognitive behavior, how would your cognitive knowledge would guide you? Let me see your administrative skills now. What would be your cognitive behavior? The same like in the example of snake. Okay, all government officials are not bribeful people. Few of them are honest and good governing people. So you would at least try, right? One example I need, because this model is very important. इस मॉडल से एक क्वेश्चन आया नहीं अभी तक, बट आई एम 100% श्योर one or the 100 this model would be asked. If you don't know the basics, उसके ऊपर जो भी बनेगा you would not understand. It's like a baseless building. आप 4-5 मंजिल बना लोगे, लेकिन छठवां फ्लोर जब बनाने जाओगे it will fall down. So make sure your basics are strong and questions are asked on the basics itself. कोई PhD का थियरी नहीं चाहिए आपको. Any one example? Take this as homework. I need at least two examples. Okay, two examples. Next class, that answer and those two examples which fits in ABC model. Okay. Have you gone through PYQ? No. Have you gone through? No. Okay. There are few types of questions which are asked in UPSC mains in the premise of debates. They might ask you what is the difference between, or what is the correlation between attitude and behavior. What is attitude according to you now? Okay. Behavior, to act. Which is the external component? Okay. Which is the internal? Okay. If you know this, well and good. But one question, which influences which? Behavior doesn't influence attitude. Right. Both influences each other. Example, apart from this. Everyone knows driving. In the starting of your driving days, you might be traveling, like you might be riding fast, or you might be driving very fast. एक बार accident, speed almost half. Almost half. Why? गिरे, समझ में आया कि 30 में गिरना क्या है और 70, 80, 90 में गिरना क्या है. Right? In the same sense, like if it's a slippery road, if it's raining, that too in Mumbai it's very heavy rain, right? उस टाइम पे आप कैसे चलाओगे? Same like on the F1 track. Then your behavior influencing your attitude towards on that particular day, particular situation. Like same wise, attitude influences behavior and behavior influences your attitude. Okay. We have seen that only three, four differentiation. Any other differentiation you can come up with? बेसिक वाला तो हम लोगों ने देख लिया डिफरेंस इंटरनल एक्सटर्नल with examples. Any differentiation which you can come up with in related to attitude and behavior. See, few topics would be very common or few topics would be very bouncy. But on the given day, you have been allotted, not you have been allotted, like if you're a serious aspirant, you have been allotted only 10 minutes for a question. That time, if you're wasting 4 or 5 minutes on a particular question, that won't be suffice. It should be very quick. Recent example, कल का example. Did anyone go through Women's Cricket World Cup? What did you see? What did you see? Apart from cricket, I don't want cricket knowledge here. What did you see in terms of attitude and behavior? No, in respect to the players, not in respect to the people who are watching it, not in respect to the viewers. In respect to the players, what things you can watch it on a bird view, as a third person's view, in respect to the player's perspective. Very right. Then, even though you're not a follower of cricket, but you can still attempt. See, according to me, it was 16th match consecutive wins of Australia. Knockout from like they haven't been knocked out from past three World Cups. India had lost three matches, then they won against like it was draw last match. So the mind perspective was little negative towards the trophy. Even the viewers had a negative image on Indian cricket, Indian women's cricket, right? They showed a value of optimism. Did you like have you heard of slowly and steady wins the race? Right? It was the same thing in respect to the economical, matlab run rate. They didn't emphasize on the run rate. Rather, Australia was like played very aggressive cricket. 15 overs, 20 till 20 overs, it was very aggressive. Then they showed the optimism, they still believed it, and they controlled the innings. They predicted 350 score. It was stuck down to 328, I guess. Target 327. They controlled almost 20, 30 runs, and that showed the difference. Cricket is not an example. Like I wanted to show you what how attitude and behavior can play in respect to your bureaucratic behavior. Okay, we'll see in the attitude, values and ethics. There's one more thing, belief. We'll see the difference between what is value and what is belief. What is belief first? Okay, complete that. You told the half thing. Mhm. Half definition. If I'll give you a hint. If beliefs supersedes your thinking power, that would lead to superstition. Now come with reverse engineering. What is superstition? Andhvishwas. It might harm or it might not harm, right? One example, right? Does it have any scientific proof? उल्टा आप काट रहे हो उसका रास्ता, राइट? बिल्ली सीधा ही जा रही है, उल्टा आप उसका रास्ता काट रहे हो. It might be other way around. Now come with reverse engineering. Superstition, like belief, if overseeds your thinking power, that might lead to superstition. Example. Chalo, everyone might be following superstition. I'll tell you example. घर पे राइट पैर ही रख के जाना है पहले. That is superstition. लेफ्ट रखोगे तो कुछ गलत नहीं होने वाला. There is nothing scientific proof कि लेफ्ट रखोगे तो कुछ कलेश होगा ही. बट कुछ गलत करके आए हो बाहर, सब रूल्स फॉलो करोगे. Every rules would be followed, every superstitions would be followed in respect कि कुछ गलत ना हो, right? Now what is belief? Okay, I'll tell you the example, then you give me a example. Belief is something which is your trust on something which might be true and which might not be. The thing what you told which is true, but other way example on the other part which might not be true also, that is also a belief, but that might not be belief of yours. That belief might not be of yours, and if that oversees your thinking power. आप सुपरस्टिशन फॉलो करते टाइम आपका साइंटिफिक टेम्पर कहाँ पे होता है? एवरीवन माइट हैव स्टडीड साइंस, बट वहां पे साइंस काम पे नहीं लाओगे आप. सेल ऑर्गेनिज्म सब साइड में रख के आप बोलोगे सुपरस्टिशन इज राइट. अगर ये करूंगा, अगर ये करूंगी तो नहीं होगा. In respect to the sports world, like few of the batsmen don't, you know, open their pad after they get out because they believe that if they are still pad up, match might go in a positive favor. Like in respect to the Sachin Tendulkar's example, like when he gets out and he goes to the pavilion dressing room, he watches the match by just putting up his pad. He doesn't open. He believes that like by watching match and by not opening his pad, match might go into the favor of his team. There are so many superstitions what you follow, even in your daily life also. पैसे राइट से देना, नॉट लेफ्ट हैंड से देना. वाई? लेफ्ट से ज्यादा जाएगा या राइट से ज्यादा जाएगा? एनी साइंटिफिक एग्जाम्पल है? जो बंदा लेफ्टी है उसने गलती क्या किया? उसका तो लेफ्ट राइट है, राइट लेफ्ट है, राइट. उसने तो गलती किया ही नहीं फिर. वन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ बिलीफ. ओके. इन रेस्पेक्ट योर डेली डूइंग्स, आप सुबह उठ के मेडिटेशन करते हो नहीं करते हो, दैट इज ऑल सेकेंडरी, दैट इज डिफरेंट थिंग. बट फ्यू ऑफ देम यू माइट फॉलो रिलीजियस थिंग. नहाने के बाद you go, like you go and pray, right? Where is the scientific proof that your messages have been like is been heard? Is there any scientific proof? Is there any alpha beta rays that is going up and coming back to you? Is there any receiver and interceptor which is telling you कि हाँ एंटेना में रेड और ग्रीन सिग्नल बजा, हाँ मेरा सिग्नल पहुंच गया? That is your belief towards positiveness, like that is leading to you as a better person, right? The same way, how belief and attitude is connected. The, just now the example which I told you in the religious matter, if you like if you are an atheist, or if you are an like if you follow religious practices, the person who is following religious practices, you will show kindness, or else a kind of similarity to between you and him or you and her. Why? You see that person as positiveness, positive person. You see very relatable to that person. Mindset बहुत ही different हो सकता है, but just with one belief of you and that person is similar, you are showing an attitude of similarity, connectiveness, right? Any other example of belief and attitude which is leading side by side, which is influencing, uh, like which part is influencing the other part? Is belief influencing the attitude, or attitude influencing the belief? It is unidirectional. Belief, how? Right. What is value then? What is value? Last class also, like we have discussed, I guess. What is value? No idea about value. Okay. What is the economy meaning of value? Monetary value, yeah, that is there. But what is the meaning of value in respect to the economics? Worth, how the worth is coming. I don't want to discuss economics here. Demand and supply theory, your worth is being calculated. How demand, like जैसे demand बढ़ता है, price like opposite action, right? क्या समझ में आया? How your demand is getting increased? Preferences. The exact preferences itself is the meaning of value. Your preferences is nothing but is your value. You give preferences to few principles in your life. If I tell you what you see in others, how your friend should be, you have few preferences. He or she should be honest with me, crystal clear, loyal, जब भी difficult situation आए मेरे साथ रहे. What are these listings? What I told you, these are your preferences. Can you list all these things in an keyword? No, like values का meaning देख लिया हमने, but the listings what I told, how your friend, like how my friend should be, can you keep all those listings in a keyword? Chalo, I'll one by one we will take how your friend should be. Okay. Good communication skills. How your friend should be. इंटरव्यू नहीं कर रहा हूँ, कुछ भी बोल सकते हो आप. सपोर्टिव. क्राइसिस हैंडलर. क्राइसिस टाइम में भी साथ में रहे. हाउ योर फ्रेंड शुड बी. रेस्पेक्टफुल. ओके. डायरेक्ट कीवर्ड ही बता दिया आपने. ओके देन. प्रोटेक्टिव एंड केयरिंग. ओके. ओके. These are your values for making a friend, right? Dishonesty, chore, and all. If I keep all these things and tell you to make a friend out of these things, like these were yours, I added another three, four of which is of negative. Okay. Now, if I tell you to make friendship in respect to these things, would you make, or would you eliminate few things? Why? Why? Don't tell me nahi pasand. Why? These are not your values. What is your attitude towards it? Negative. Would not even come into the contact. In the same way, can you relate it to the values and belief, values and attitude? How would your attitude would be with a negative person or with a negative value of yours? There's, remember one thing, there's nothing uncultured. There's nothing uncultured, which is of your not your in culture. You term it as uncultured. मैं हाथ से खाना खा रहा हूँ, आपके कल्चर में स्पून से खाना खाते. यू कांट कॉल मी एज अनकल्चर. अदर वे अराउंड ऑल्सो, राइट? योर नेगेटिव मतलब योर नेगेटिव वैल्यूज is leading your attitude to be away from those people which is of your not syncing with your values, right? That is how value is guiding towards attitude. Does attitude guide value? A best example, now I'm coming to know why I took friendship example. Does attitude influences values? Think. If yes, if no, one example. See, ethics is all about giving examples. आप एटीट्यूड को हार्डली 3-4 लाइन में लिख सकोगे. रेस्ट, how would you show examiner that you know the definition of value? आपके लाइफ के एग्जांपल्स ही दो. We saw the values guiding your attitude. How attitude is guiding your value? Anything. Your past experiences in the sense. Okay. One example I'll give you with respect to this itself. What if suppose you subsume these two and you make a friend? Okay. अगर आपका वो बेस्ट फ्रेंड बनता है by subsuming all these things, by his negative character you will get influenced and you will do the things what you are not supposed to do by neglecting this. Don't generalize. Okay, लड़कियां करती नहीं है. Okay, don't be generalizing on any example. What you show it on paper and what you are really, that should be both different. If you tell me after the class, I can discuss this, but in the class, like in respect to the subject, don't be generalizing. Okay, any one example. I told you the basic premise also. Now you take with one example of your life which you have done by just taking considering your friend as a priority than your value. What you did, it wasn't you, but you did it only because of your, by taking your friend as a priority. Bunking class, it was not your priority, but you did only for the sake of your friends. यहाँ से क्या समझा आपने? By just your attitude, मतलब your friend's attitude is leading your value getting subsumed, right? आपने आपका जो honesty of not bunking class was your priority, you subsumed it by keeping your friend as a over the top, right? These were the debates which usually in PYQ they have asked, attitude and behavior they have asked, values and attitude they have asked, belief they haven't asked, but make sure you create one page of notes on belief and attitude, belief, values and attitude. Make sure you write the difference between belief, attitude and values. तीनों का डिफरेंशिएशन पूछा जा सकता है. ओके, in respect to the types of attitude, moral, उसके बाद social, political and bureaucratic. What is morals? In the first class we have seen morals, like if I'm not wrong in Hindi, naitikata, right? What is morals? Moral attitude. That is moral science या moral studies हो गया. But in respect to the moral and attitude, अब आपने जो अभी बोला डिफरेंशिएट, आपने अभी मॉरल स्टडीज का डेफिनेशन बोला, मॉरल्स को साइड में रखो, एटीट्यूड को सेपरेट रखो एंड बोथ मिंगल इट, बोथ एडिंग इट, come up with some one definition. Few times you will not be having meaning for it. अगर मेरे को बोला जाए कि पॉलिटिकल एटीट्यूड कहाँ से लिखूंगा, पॉलिटिकल एटीट्यूड बताओ, किसी पॉलिटिशियंस में है एटीट्यूड? एटलीस्ट कोई डिग्री भी पास करके है, बहुत वेरी रेयर, 1% ऑफ 100, बट स्टिल हैव टू राइट, स्टिल हैव टू राइट बहुत बड़ा चढ़ा के. दिस इज द चैलेंज इन एथिक्स पेपर. Things which look different, very simple, is very hard to write. If I tell you to write on moral attitude, what is the first meaning it would come to you. Moral plus attitude. Okay. In those, in this keyword, how you are leading your moral attitude in your life, honesty, by not giving up, right? In the same way, how your political attitude is influencing. What would be the key term? If suppose you are aspiring for like to be a politician, how you should be, like how you are aspiring for, but you can't tell. अभी क्लास के बाद मिलेंगे, आप बोलोगे मेरे को इन कॉमन लैंग्वेज सर सब प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर दूंगा, ये कर दूंगा, वो कर दूंगा, बट राइटिंग इन paper or telling it by verbal is very difficult. How your political attitude should be if you are an aspiring politician, it should be, I told. There are leftist ideology people also, that is socialistic. There are rightist approach also. Like in basic it should be both left, center, rightist. अब तीनों को मिला के एक बेसिक एटीट्यूड तो बनेगा. हाउ योर पॉलिटिकल representative should perform. He or she can't be very rude to people. 5 साल के बाद वो अपना औकात दिखा देंगे फिर, राइट? They are the king and queen of only for 5 years. When they come down to ground zero, once again the new game begins. But make sure when you're writing it, you're telling it with a holistic view. Right now, what you told socialistic, you want to aspire it for. But when you think of political attitude as a umbrella subject, as an holistic view, you can't only term by socialistic uh, perspective as an example. Keyword, any? Try to remember preamble. He should know the sense of secularism. What is secularism? बहुत वर्ड चल रहा है मार्केट में ये. One or the another day, this word is being circulated, is being sold in the market. Every news channel. What is secularism? No. This is the right definition. The state have doesn't the state doesn't have any religion, which means it is treating every religion as equal. Try to know the perfect meaning of the keyword. एक मीनिंग भी उधर इधर उधर हुआ, you will sink. To promote social and economic justice, what was introduced? To promote social and economic justice, what was introduced in the constitution? Fundamental rights, fundamental duties, DPSP, all of the above. Okay? Do you think fundamental rights, where is it giving political equality? to promote social and economical and political justice. What was being introduced in the constitution? FR, FD, DPSP, all of the above. DPSP. एक एक कीवर्ड का डेफिनेशन रट्टा मार लो, especially preamble. You would use it in paper 2, paper 4 very regularly. Very shocked that you don't know the difference between meaning of secular. What other terms? सिर्फ secular है. Okay. Then okay. He or she should have democratic view of. What is democratic then? Hmm, what is democratic? What is republic then? That is republic. So जितने भी terms secular मतलब secular के बोल रहा हूँ, preamble के हैं, make sure you उसका meaning जानो. Okay. And why is it brought? Which are the cases? Landmark judgments. Those judgments, those committees would be, you would be referring it here, not even only in paper 4, in all the papers. In all the papers, you would write it. Okay. What is bureaucracy? Bureaucratic छोड़ दो. What is bureaucracy and governance? Governance and PABAD. Like if you have been selected as a IAS officer, okay, what would be called? What would be you called as? Public administrator. See, remember governance and PABAD. Difference. What is governance and what is PABAD? How you implement all those acts, policies, and all. Can you write this in bureaucratic attitude? As a bureaucrat, how you should perform with respect to bureaucratic attitude? What as an administrator, he or she should hold basic attitude keywords. Same thing. Responsible, accountable, then okay. Responsibility, accountable, transparency, then decision making and all. Okay. Accountability and transparency. Why is it so? Both are similar terms. Accountable and transparency. Both are sister words, twin sister words, but there is a subtle difference. Transparency and accountability, there's a subtle difference. What is that? If you're coining it, make sure you know the meaning of it. What is transparency? Transparent, accountable. Decode it. Okay, let me give you an example. And you have to tell me bureaucratic example. Can you see the other side of the cabin? That is transparency. If you are telling me what is there in that cupboard and what is the content of the book, that is accountable. Why is it so? If you are able to see, that is transparent. If you are telling me the why is it that content written in that book, that is accountable. Now can you tell me? Without transparency, there won't be accountability, right? If you're not letting me to go through the books, how would I be able to tell you what is written in the book and why is it written in the book? Didn't get transparency, which means you're going through a certain books in that. Sorry, seeing through. That is transparency. Accountability, which means you're telling me why is it written in the book, that content. That is accountability. Where इन दोनों में से compliance कहाँ पे? Compulsory you have to do it. In transparency or in accountability? Why? There is a major act. अभी बता सकते हो? If you know RTI, if you know accountability, if you know transparency, अभी तो समझ में आ जाना चाहिए कि ट्रांसपेरेंसी एंड अकाउंटेबिलिटी के बीच में सटल डिफरेंस क्या है. ऑपरेशन सिंदूर चला. कैन आई पुट RTI एंड टेल मी कि मेरे को डिटेल्स चाहिए? हैं? नो. इवन इफ यू पुट RTI यू कांट गेट द डिटेल्स ऑफ ऑपरेशन सिंदूर. अपनी यूपीएससी पे ही डाल दो RTI. हाउ योर एग्जाम शीट मतलब आंसर शीट्स like have been getting evaluated pro forma of that. You won't be given. You won't be given RTI. Why? Few things should not be disclosed to in a public domain. अगर आपको आपके कॉलेज की तरह, आपके स्कूल की तरह, आपके बोर्ड की तरह आपको पेपर इवेल्युएटेड पेपर्स दिया जाएगा, यूपीएससी बचेगा ही नहीं. If everyone comes to know the scheme of evaluation, do you think it would be even desirable to prepare for UPSC? सब वही स्कीम ऑफ वैल्यूएशन पे पढ़ के जाएंगे और एग्जाम क्लियर करेंगे. And you think Operation Sindoor details would be given to you? Why? You being as a citizen and asking, what if suppose a person who is citizen and working for another government won't ask? Geolocation details. There are numerous things would be involved in those warfares. Your equipments, your armory. If those would be declared outside, अगर मेरे को पता है कि आपका पावर इतना है, I would come up with larger power, right? And that is checkmate. No other move. Okay. Basic and foremost attitude, social attitude. आप बाहर जाते ही सोशल लाइफ में आ जाओगे. डू यू फॉलो एनी एटीट्यूड आउटसाइड? नो. यू डू फॉलो. रोड पे जाते हुए सबको टपली थोड़ी मार के जाते हो. दैट इज ऑल्सो एन एटीट्यूड यू आर फॉलोइंग. what sense of attitude, what sense of behavior you follow outside? Not spitting, being, straight on the road, following footpaths. वहां पे एटीट्यूड ऐसे थोड़ी ना दिखा सकते हो कि रोड गवर्नमेंट का, मैं बीच रास्ते में ही चलूंगा। गाड़ी भले लेफ्ट राइट से जाए, राइट। मेक श्योर, इफ नॉट दिस, but try to know the difference between value, beliefs and attitude। वो आप लिख के आओ। I believe that those three terms would be asked in jumble up manner mains में in coming years, in like this year तो हो गया, in coming years 100% they would ask। Okay, okay, now come down to social influence, bifurcated, social, society, influence, क्या? सोशल को तो हम बोला, सोसाइटी के लिए, इन्फ्लुएंस के लिए क्या? इन्फ्लुएंस, व्हाट इज इन्फ्लुएंस? सर यहाँ पे सर आ नहीं रहा है। ओके, ग्रे definition, little gray। You are telling the later part of the influence। You would feel very frustrated when I will be correcting your definitions, because मैंने भी वही तो बोला, but when I'll tell, you would feel हाँ, ये थोड़ा difference था। But make sure you don't get those kind of learnings in from your mains exam, because that is very harmful। If you are writing it and if you are getting penalty marks, that would be more harmful। भले वहां पे नेगेटिव नहीं है, लेकिन पेनल्टी मार्क्स हैं। ओके, व्हाट इज इन्फ्लुएंस? अब दोनों के बीच का कुछ लेके आओ। Okay, let me tell you one example। Your style icon or your any sports icon, you are influenced by it because of his behavior, his style, or whatever it is, and you follow it। You told the later part, following that। You told the premise of the part, but बीच का जो process है वो बताओ। I am getting influenced by someone's, like, his physical thing or his style or his behavior, and I'm behaving accordingly, and उससे पहले I'm liking that person। उसके बीच का जो part है influence, why is it so, and definition। You believe that his or her traits would be a good of you, like would make you a influential person or would make you a even better person, you follow it, right? The same thing, can you term it, what is persuasion? I'm persuading you to go out and bring water, this is the sentence। What is the meaning of it? What is the meaning, what is the essence of this sentence? I'm persuading you to go out and take water for me। Or chalo, one more example, this is not a proper example। A police person is persuading you to wear a helmet on the road while driving. यहाँ पे एक एग्जांपल, you have been influenced by a racer. When he drives, he wears a helmet, that's why you are wearing it. नहीं समझ में आया एग्जांपल? Influence, a favorite racer of mine, Valentino Rossi, wears a helmet, that's why I'm wearing it. Persuade, policeman is persuading you to wear a helmet on the road while driving. Difference? By will, by force, by force. Another differentiation. Another differentiation. Okay, similar example, but difference बता देता हूँ. Here is it is by compliance, by authoritative person. You can tell a certain rules guiding them to, you know, to do so. यहाँ पे is it's by will or it's by influenced by other or someone influencing you. But यहाँ पे authoritative person ही बोलेगा आपको. Persuade, जैसे गाइड, इसका सिनोनिम बन सकता है एक मीनिंग गाइडिंग यू, वैसे परसुएडिंग, authoritative person telling you, or else a doctor telling you to must do so, a lawyer telling you to behave in such a manner in court, that is persuading you. And if you have been influenced by some other like other person, or some other person is influencing you, that is influence. Okay. Social influence, which can be done in three ways. But now I want example from you itself. Try. Conformity, compliance, and obedience. So let me give the meaning of those three words. Conformity, confirming things and following it. Confirm के प्रोसेस में क्या हो रहा है? Try to know the meaning of it. Confirming things. I am confirming that I am coming. Okay, got the meaning? I am getting influenced by the way of conformity. Compliance, which means compulsory, or else by complying on others, I am doing it so. Obedience, I don't have to tell you what is the meaning of obedience. You might have, usually girls get obedient students type, not boys. Like your in PTM, your parents might listen. Your child is a obedient student. That is the meaning of obedience. Now, can you tell me the difference? आपको ऐसे ही वर्कआउट करना होगा इन मेंस. मेंस में ऐसे ही वर्कआउट करना होगा. इफ यू कम टू नो द मीनिंग ऑफ क्वेश्चन, दिया जाएगा EI in AI, what would you write? Ethical intelligence, हाँ, इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस इन आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस. आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस में कहाँ इमोशन डालोगे? मशीन में कहाँ से इमोशंस डालोगे? बट यू हैव टू राइट द आंसर. What would you write? Negative aspect of it or positive aspect of it? You have to write both and you have to give conclusion. अगर सिर्फ नेगेटिव लिखते जाओगे 4 पॉइंट ही मिलेगा आपको बस. So make sure you frame answers according to your knowledge. That's why work on it. Scribble. Scribble your mind. कुछ डेटा निकालो, प्रोसेसेस निकालो. कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा तो उसको बाइफर्केटेड. जैसे लाइक आई टोल्ड कंफर्मिटी. कन सॉरी कंफर्म. By confirming something, you're doing it. Compliance, it's by will or not, but someone is telling you to do. Obedience, which means if I tell you the meaning of this, you'll get to know the difference of all. Why are you being called obedient? Like if a child is getting the tag of like he or she is a obedient student in the class, why is it so? So work on it, work on it, and tell me the difference. Like difference तो मैंने बता दिया. I want one example which you would term it in all the three: obedience, compliance, and conformity. I told you the difference between conformity, compliance, and obedience. One example which would suit all the three. Okay, by taking your example, like you tell me your example, I would correct जहाँ पे left right सीधा किया जा सकता. Conformity, by confirming with the manual of the class, you would come on time. आपकी दोस्त ने आपको बोला कि तू 10:30 बजे आ जाना, बाहर कुछ खा के बाद में चलते हैं. You're doing, even though if you're not punctual, you come punctual only for the sake of getting influenced by your friend. Obedience, which means you're an obedient student, you follow the rules of the class manual and you follow it. Any other example? Traveling, like can you brief it out? Okay. Can you add this, like by taking one more person is traveling with you? Because influence हमेशा दूसरे लोगों से होते हैं. या आप हो रहे हो या वो आपको कर रहा है. Take that example. Rephrase it. Else you want time, take your time. Any other person would come up with some other example, better example. Okay. या फिर उससे पहले ये बोल दो कि like if your style icon or whosoever you follow gym going person is your idol. He's following some certain routine. You will confirm it by yourself and you will follow. Compliance, or else like you go diet plan with some other app or by some other person. They tell you to follow, you follow. Obedient, which means you by will, and by will you follow because you want to follow it. That is obedience. Any other example? If you and your friend are traveling, you confirm with the travel partner where you're booked, you're going. Compliance, you must reach before 45 minutes. Otherwise, the gates are closed. That's why you follow this. Obedience, you want to spend time with your travel partner, that's why you go. Or you actually follow time rules, punctuality, that's why you follow it. Okay. This is not been asked in the paper, but this been asked in paper 2, paper 3. GS paper 2, GS paper 3, but GS paper 4 में अभी तक आया नहीं है, but this 100 short question for this coming year. Role of social media on attitude. Have you changed your attitude by just following social media? Have you changed? Just ask to yourself, like by just following social media, have you changed anything in life? No? Rephrase it and tell me. You haven't changed anything in your life by just following social media? आपके खाने तरीके से लेके आपका शूज, आपका कपड़ा, सब इन्फ्लुएंस होता है सोशल मीडिया से, राइट? इवन योर एटीट्यूड ऑल्सो. योर डेटा इज नॉट एट ऑल सेफ. अगर आपने अभी सर्च किया कि यू वांट टू वॉच मर्डर मूवीज, in just 20 seconds later in your browser you will be recommended all the algorithms related to it, and you will once again dwell into that mood, watching horror movies, whatever it is, right? But I want to ask you how you have been influenced and role of social media on attitude, positive and negative, and will come down to the solutions what government has taken. Positive side, it influences behavior, it influences attitude, social calmness, social affirmity. बट ज्यादातर पॉजिटिवनेस है ही नहीं सोशल मीडिया. I'll tell you now how. Negative side of the story, role of social media on attitude in respect to the negative side. Okay, which leads to come down to the examples of bureaucratic world. This thing I want it in related to your job profile. Have you heard of mob lynching? What is mob lynching? कभी स्ट्राइक पे गए हो? नो. गो इन स्ट्राइक. एक बंदा कोई बाहर से आएगा, he would just influence all the person के मारो. जो मारने वाला बोला ना, वो एक्चुअली भाग जाएगा. And with all the same attitude of people, they would get influence and they would actually hit the person. ये एक ऑफलाइन का मैटर होता है. मॉब लिंचिंग, सोशल मीडिया बुलिंग, देखा है कभी, सुना है कभी सोशल मीडिया बुलिंग क्या होता है? recent example of social bullying. Okay, that is something गलती तो किया था, but don't consider it as social. But we can discuss that issue, same issue, post math of the incident. Will not take the incident, that is right, wrong. We are no one to judge. उसके बाद जो social media bullying हुआ, that is of something negative nature, right? And कोई भी मूवी बनता है तो बॉयकॉट, वाई सो? एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने किया, उसके सब कार्यकर्ता करेंगे, उसके सब कार्यकर्ता करेंगे तो उनके आसपास के लोग भी सब करेंगे. वन माइंडसेट, सिमिलर माइंडसेट gets influenced and he or she would react on the same way. Any other thing? Any other thing? Biggest one is this itself, social media itself, in the sense टीवी चैनल्स. डिबेट तो देखा होगा ना? आई वोंट टू term the name. If you go on debate on the TV, that is not at all a debate. What is the meaning of debate then? Debate is something, what I know, what you know, what we come up as a middle. That debate is something, what I know, that is right. And that itself is right. And that will be right. That is not the meaning of debate. Debate is something, I have something, you have something. We will create one whole picture. That is something debate. Like I have given you one example also. If you want to listen to a proper debate, go with it. Once, at least एक बार सुनना, समझ में आएगा. In these 7 days, there was one debate on how AI can be used in elections. You would be mesmerized with the examples what that person has given you. How AI can be used in elections. Before someone could get into electoral booth, how frauds can be detected. Why is it in news? Because of Bihar elections. You can write those examples in your paper. एंड ये सारा आपको पेपर में नहीं मिलेगा या फिर टीवी चैनल्स में नहीं मिलेगा. आई एम 100% श्योर इफ यू आर फॉलोइंग दिस ऑल्सो, 15 मिनट्स आप जो स्क्रॉलिंग करते हो, स्पॉटिफाई है, उसको मिनिमाइज करके आप कुछ भी करो, लेकिन सुनो. दो सजेशंस would give you better results in your paper 2 सब पेपर्स में. अपार्ट फ्रॉम पेपर 1, उसमें भी सोशल सोसाइटी पार्ट है, उसमें आपको आ जाएगा थोड़ा थोड़ा बहुत हेल्पफुल. इवन इन योर essays also. Essays is being drawn from this source, Yojana and Kurukshetra. एक महीने का जो योजना है, आपके 12 महीनों में एक बुक का योजना, एक बुक का टॉपिक जो होगा वो आपका ऐसे होगा ही. आप चेक कर सकते. इस साल का मेंस हो गया ना. दिस ईयर वाज एक्सेप्शनल बिकॉज दिस ईयर चारों मतलब दोनों सेक्शन में फिलोसॉफिकल थे. इसके पहले वाले जितने भी हैं, जितने भी मेंस हैं, आप चेक कर लो. और उस साल के जो प्रीवियस योजना मैगजीन्स हैं, एक साल पहले, मतलब मेंस टू मेंस, टू मिनिमम टॉपिक्स फ्रॉम योजना, एंड इफ यू फॉलोइंग इट, सेम टू सेम भी रट्टा मार दोगे ना, you might get 150 plus, 150 plus, same to same, copy paste. So make sure you follow this. Okay. Social influence and persuasion. Any work in like media influencing on attitude. अभी मैंने इतने सारे एग्जांपल्स बताए ना, उसी को लेके बता सकते हो। परसुएशन छोड़ दो, परसुएशन मेरा पार्ट है। सोशल इन्फ्लुएंस है, social, getting socially influenced on social media issues. One question from my side. Social, getting socially influenced on social media over attitude. इतने सारे एग्जांपल्स बताए मैंने, लिखा ही नहीं। मॉब लिंचिंग, सोशल बुलिंग, उसको तो मतलब like he lost almost 10 kilos of weight in 3 or 4 days, I guess, because he was been hit like five sixes and six balls. How that like actually occurred? You can take the recent examples also. Any social bullying, mob lynching that triggered the whole only because of prohibition of social media, that triggered youths of Nepal, all the youths of Nepal, and they almost overthrown their power. What is persuade in respect to this? What is persuasion? अभी मैंने समझा है difference between social influence and persuasion. Persuasion कौन करता है? Persuade कौन करता है? Authority force. And in related to this matter, who would persuade you to behave in such a way? Government. Has government come up with some act? See, anything related to your topic, if there is any solution to that, make sure government has come up with that or not. If you are telling it in an example way, your 1 marks extra is for sure. अगर कोई अभी तक सोल्यूशन नहीं है एज ऑफ नाउ, कोई कमिटी बनाए और सुप्रीम कोर्ट गाइडलाइंस, these two are preferred. If there is no solution as of now, these two things you should go for it. बट अभी के लिए दोनों नहीं है, सब सोल्यूशन है। एनीथिंग? बट यू कैन राइट इट एज एन एग्जाम्पल कि ऑनलाइन गेमिंग्स के लिए भी, बट why is it so, like have you, like do you know why was it brought? Mhm. एक्चुअली उसको पहले लीगल क्यों किया वो समझ में आया। वो तो बेटिंग इतने सालों से चल रहा था। विद जस्ट वन डेफिनेशन दे चेंज इट एंड दे वॉन द केस। इतना ऑलमोस्ट शायद 10 साल से तो मैं देख ही रहा हूँ ड्रीम इलेवन। ड्रीम इलेवन ऑलमोस्ट 5 to 7 years they ran their business with full-fledged money. But why was it given a right note? Go ahead and process with your money, like go and process with your business. न्यूज़पेपर नहीं पढ़ रहे हो। There is one term, game of luck, game of luck and game of chance. They termed it two games. Betting का दो गेम है, game of luck, game of fortune, and game of chance, which means game of knowledge. This is banned. That is by your chance. सब फैंटेसी गेम इस कैटेगरी में डाला गया जस्ट बाई चेंजिंग द डेफिनेशन कि आप इसमें अपना नॉलेज यूज करते हो, आप अपने इनपुट्स डालते हो। एंड इन रेस्पेक्टिव टू द क्रिकेट, यहाँ पे कोई बेटिंग ऐसे नहीं चलता कि हु इज विनिंग। यू टेक प्लेयर्स फ्रॉम द बोथ द टीम्स, यू क्रिएट वन ड्रीम लाइक योर फैंटेसी लिस्ट, एंड दैट पॉइंट्स एड मतलब एडेड अप। इसमें नॉलेज काम करता है। गेम ऑफ चांस, for that it was given a right note. But when like slow process they got to know कि गेम ऑफ नॉलेज तो है, लेकिन लोग इसमें 10-10 20-20 हजार खेल रहे हैं। एंड पीपल आर लूजिंग लाइक वंस दे आर नॉट एबल टू गिव द मनी, क्रेडिट कार्ड से स्वाइप कर रहे हैं एंड उसके ऊपर भी पैसे नहीं मिल रहा है। लाइक दे आर चूजिंग द सुसाइडल वे। तो दैट्स व्हाई इट वाज बैंड। उससे पहले एक था ऑनलाइन गेम के ऊपर 33% टैक्स, वो भी नहीं हुआ। then it was banned. Okay. Persuasion. Any government act has come up with IT section 66A. Have you heard of it? Remember this act. IT Information Technology Act section 66A that determines how a data should be given online. Okay. But once again, we have a loophole here. Supreme Court guideline says the definition itself is vague and unclear. So you might come like government might come up with proper definition and crystal clear definition, because Supreme Court guideline says that the act which was enacted, it has vague definition. It doesn't clarify who comes under it and what is the meaning of news or data which is presented online. So this, as of now, this is your solution. But if there is any other uh, amendment coming to the IT Section Act, so that would be helpful. That would be like important for your exams. Make sure you remember it. Okay. Rest. Take down the first question and write it now. Or else आज का ही एक क्वेश्चन लिखो. Does anyone have syllabus copy? Syllabus copy है? नहीं? Okay. What was the first question? I will solve it here only. Solve it at least now with the help of examples. 8 minutes. Also, you want to write it this class answer. Okay. Difference between value, belief, and attitude. Take it for 10 mark only, but this is 15 mark question. 10 marker, 150 words. Okay, let me give you some positive inputs. You can write definition, components, influences, attitude, in how, like in what manner. 4 सेक्शन तो दे दिया, कंक्लूजन आप लिखो, मीनिंग मतलब see, हाँ same way. See, this is differentiation. Now you have two way of writing it, by taking one thing at a time, and second thing at a time, and third thing on the third stanza. But what I would tell you is, यहाँ पे कीवर्ड लिखो components, and then value, belief, and attitude, right? मीनिंग तीनों का लिखो, definition, components, and influences behavior, like influences attitude, how value is influencing attitude, belief, and यहाँ पे तो नीली होगा. So make sure write in this way whenever the differentiation is given. Or in normal answers, like if the question would be what is first question क्या दिया था मैंने, what is attitude, then cut it in कट करो क्वेश्चन को, मतलब सेक्शंस बनाओ. 3 क्वेश्चन है. कौन से क्वेश्चन है वो? मीनिंग ऑफ एटीट्यूड, देन influences, okay, then components. 10 marker, 150 words. मीनिंग लिखो, डेफिनेशन लिखो in 2 to 4 lines. हाउ इज इट इन्फ्लुएंसिंग कंपोनेंट्स, उसको एक्सप्लेन करो, कंक्लूजन, दैट्स इट. सी, द मेजर चैलेंजिंग इन आंसर राइटिंग इज यू हैव बंच ऑफ नॉलेज. अभी नहीं है तो हो जाएगा, 1 साल में आप जब पढ़ो, तो उसको आप कंसाइज करके आप आंसर्स में कैसे लिखते हो, दैट इज मोस्ट चैलेंजिंग. मोस्ट चैलेंजिंग. अगर आप मैं इसके ऊपर लिखने बोलूँ तो 2 पेज तो आराम से लिख सकते हो, बट 10 पेज, लाइक 10 मार्कर का एक ही पेज में लिखना इज वेरी चैलेंजिंग, क्योंकि आपको तीनों कंपोनेंट्स फिलअप करने हैं. मीनिंग ऑफ एटीट्यूड, डेफिनेशन, हाउ इज इट इन्फ्लुएंसिंग बिहेवियर, सॉरी, हाउ इज इट बीइंग इन्फ्लुएंस्ड ना, एंड उसके कंपोनेंट्स मतलब उसका किसने दिया, इसका मीनिंग, एंड देन यू विल टेल एग्जाम. हाँ, explanation of the question. What is attitude? Attitude meaning itself is the introduction for any. हाँ, for any. हाँ, हाँ. See, इसका मीनिंग लिखो पहले. What do you understand by attitude? उसके बाद डेफिनेशन, इफ यू नो द डेफिनेशन, लाइक जो मैंने आपको पहले क्लास में बोला था, हाउ यू नीड टू मेक योर नोट्स बाय टेकिंग मीनिंग्स और डेफिनेशंस फ्रॉम डिक्शनरी, लाइक इफ यू हैवंट। अब जो भी यहाँ पे मीनिंग लिखोगे ना डिक्शनरी से, दैट वुड बी योर डेफिनेशन। मीनिंग आप जो समझते हो, लाइक एटीट्यूड आपके हिसाब से क्या है, वो मीनिंग लिखो। बट दिस थिंग टेक इट फ्रॉम डिक्शनरी सीरियसली, स्ट्रिक्टली। योर लाइफ एग्जाम्पल्स और एनेक्डोट्स विच यू हैव कम अक्रॉस, करंट अफेयर्स एग्जाम्पल्स एंड एनी कोटेशन रिलेटेड टू एटीट्यूड, मतलब कोई भी कीवर्ड, एनी कोटेशंस, अगर ये आपका है तो ऑलमोस्ट समझ लो हाफ ऑफ द आंसर इज डन। उसके ऊपर आपको एग्जाम्पल्स या फिर आपके आपका कोई सजेशंस हो, कंक्लूजन हो, या फिर कोई कमिटीज हो, उसके ऊपर खेलना है। एंड मेक श्योर यू टेक इट दिस थिंग सो सीरियसली। सेकेंड ARC report, if you have summary, take it, or else like at the end of the class I'll give you second ARC report. Okay. I've given you components हो गया, keywords, values में क्या क्या like you prefer to be, and one example last में, या फिर उसको आप influences में लिख सकते हो। नहीं आया। डन डन, टाइम हो गया। थोड़ा फास्ट करो। मेक इट फास्ट। बहुत शॉर्ट लिख रहे हो, थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन करो। वैल्यू इज बिलीफ इज बस। कम, थोड़ा कंफर्ट जोन से बाहर आओ, वर्कआउट करो। ये थोड़ी यहाँ तक पेट भर गया होगा। नो। फास्ट। होल्ड्स टू बी ट्रू एंड मे नॉट बी। कंक्लूड करो। दो, दो तीन लाइन में। आई सी, कंक्लूड इट। मेक श्योर आंसर लिखा है कि नहीं, एटलीस्ट कंक्लूड इट इन टू थ्री लाइंस। दो तीन लाइन में कंक्लूड करो, दो तीनों को साथ में ले। क्या, हाउ इज इट इन्फ्लुएंसिंग बिहेवियर? तीनों इंटरनल पार्ट है, बिहेवियर इज एक्सटर्नल पार्ट। राइट एनी ऑफ योर सेंटेंस, अगर मैं बोलने जाऊंगा तो मैं ही बोल दूंगा। राइट समथिंग विच इज all the three, how is it influencing or making your behavior guide? तीनों को लेके एक दो तीन सेंटेंस ऐसे बनाओ कि हाउ इज इट इन्फ्लुएंसिंग बिहेवियर एंड व्हाई इज इट इम्पोर्टेंट। चैलेंज नहीं है, एक्सेप्टेंस, यस एंड राइट। राइट, हाँ नहीं अभी, हाँ। तीनों का मीनिंग पता है, वैल्यू, बिलीफ एंड एटीट्यूड। राइट, तीनों को कॉम्बिनेशन करके, तीनों को कॉम्बिनेशन करके ऑल द थ्री, हाउ इज इट गाइडिंग योर बिहेवियर, or else why is it important for your behavioral change or behavioral pattern. Write it in a positive affirmation. Always conclusion should be in positive, or else something suggestive way, or else something steps can be taken to solve it, which means positive connotation. Write it something, matlab, let me see your positive, optimistic side of your behavior. everyone have started jumping once again writing value क्या करता है, belief क्या करता है, attitude क्या करता है. I told all the three, which means you might have written in by taking all the things in one sentence: value, belief, and like value, belief, and क्या दिया था, attitude are the components of behavioral pattern which influences human behavior in a positive way. And second thing you might have written that influences behavioral pattern of human. And next thing, it is important for any administrator to carry all the things. That's it. Like you all guys are writing value का फिर से belief is how is important, and once again how attitude is important. अगर ऐसे लिखने जाओगे तो conclusion meaning बन जाएगा. Okay, make sure you remember it. That's it. Thank you for the day. And those two answers, one is first one, and the homework ABC model का two examples. I need every one of it. Thank you.
हो गया
जी सर.
ये अपने गिरीश सर है
हेलो सर. पराग सर.
कहाँ दादर जाओगे कहाँ